Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to share a bit of a Kickstarter preview for Lands of the Mesozoic, which is from Pungo Games, which is actually a new division of Worthington Publishing. And you may recall I did a first look video for Lands of the Mesozoic, but that was just an unboxing video. So in this video, I'm going to share a little bit of a how to play. I'm not going to get into a real deep dive into the gameplay, but I'm also going to share my thoughts about the game as well. Now, Lands of the Mesozoic is for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, should play in about 60 to 90 minutes on average. So this is currently on Kickstarter. The Kickstarter just began very recently. It's already funded. It's, as of this recording, well past the 300% funding mark. So you don't have to be concerned about it not reaching its goal. You can reserve a copy of Lands of the Mesozoic for a $55 pledge, I believe until October 7th. And expected delivery on the game is March of next year. So a pretty quick turnaround. And I'll kind of discuss that a little bit as we take a peek at the game. So let's swing on over to the other camera because I've got Lands of the Mesozoic set up. And we're going to be looking at the 2 main boards, essentially, that we're going to be utilizing in Lands of the Mesozoic. Now, of course, you are playing over a period of 3 eras of the Mesozoic. And you are going to try to create the most effective ecosystem throughout those 3 periods. So we have a variety of different cards. So we've got land cards, herbivore cards, carnivore cards. We've got period cards, major extinction event cards, as well as goal cards. And then we have our main board. This goes into the center of the table, and we are going to have a common goal that all players can play for. We've got our turn tracker, and then we also have goals that we are racing to achieve. So we do have the land cards, and we have 5 different kinds of land. We've got forest, prairie, dry land, water, and wetlands. So those are the 5 that we've got, and just kind of give you an idea, geez, how did all those water cards get in the same spot here? But one aspect of Lands of the Mesozoic which really stands out is the artwork, and how you don't see a bunch of artwork repeated when we get into the herbivores and carnivores. But even in the land cards, there's a great variety of artwork. So it's not as if all the water cards show the same thing or all the prairie cards show the same thing. So we've got those cards, we've got herbivores, and of course I'll get into the breakdown of the anatomy of these cards when we start taking a look at the player board. So we've got the herbivores here. Now I should point out that some of these aren't technically herbivores, some of them are omnivores, but they're not predator animals. I think that's where the breakdown of the carnivore and the herbivore essentially comes to with this game. So we've got our carnivores. And as you can see, we have a lot of species here. And I got to be honest, I was astounded because I'll be the first to admit, I don't know that much about dinosaurs. I mean, I know about dinosaurs to the extent of most people who have watched Discovery, History Channel, things like that. But I can't tell you the difference between, 2 very similar kinds of dinosaurs. But I was really blown away by the artwork throughout. Then we have got our period deck. So we've got 3 periods that we're going to play through. And these cards actually correspond to this tracker here. And what we're going to do is we've got a period 1 deck, period 2 deck, period 3 deck. We're going to shuffle these up, and then we're going to randomly take a major extinction event card placed on top of period 2, do that with our period 3 as well. We're going to combine them into one deck. So we do have a variety of different major extinction events that are going to take place. So these actually take place before the beginning of the next period. So this is our extinction event right here. So the unused major extinction event cards will just go back into the box. We also have goal cards. So we are going to randomly select one, which will be our common goal. So everyone is looking to gain victory points by use of this card. So what we're looking at here is 2 victory points for every card that has a J, which is a type of card at the end of the game. So it is, the J is on herbivores and carnivores. It is not on land cards. So you also see we have these goals here. So it's a race to see who can achieve these goals first. First player to get 5 lands in play is going to score 2 victory points. They're going to take that token. They're going to put it with their collection, because there's a lot of different ways that you're going to earn victory points while you play. And then the cards you have are going to be worth victory points when the game ends. So first person can get the 2, next person, or if there's a tie, if it's in the same round, then everybody tied is going to get 1. And that's how this works for 5 lands in play, 4 herbivores in play, 3 carnivores in play. The first use of an extinction ability on an herbivore card, and then the first time that you gain victory points by use of a carnivore card. So these are the 5 different goals we're also racing for here as well. If you notice on the turn tracker, major extinction event, oops, that's the big end-all extinction event. And we also have our active player token, which, interestingly enough, we have 4 different tokens. So all of them have different artworks. So whichever one you want to use, whichever one you like best, go ahead and use it. That is a look at the main board as well as the different decks of cards. What you're going to be doing is you're going to actually have a discard pile for each of these 3 decks here. And I'm just going to throw these out there like so. So looks like we've got a bit of play going on. So what'll happen is throughout the game, you have an opportunity to draw cards. And I will get into the different actions and things like that when we're looking at the player board. If you're drawing a card, so if you're drawing a land, herbivore, or carnivore card, you've got a choice of taking the card that's on top of the deck or the top discard. And you will go through a lot of discards because you have to discard cards for just about everything that you bring into play. So there are costs involved to bring the lands, the herbivores, and the carnivores into play. Now let's take a look at the player board and I'll explain how each player turn will work. Here is the player board where most of the action is going to be taking place. So you're going to start off with a hand of 6 cards. You're going to have 3 land cards, 2 herbivore cards, and 1 carnivore card. Now, taking a look at the board here, we see we've got 5 land spaces, and they are all marked period 1. So you can have 5 land in period 1, not a problem. We also have the herbivores. Now, here we're going to start seeing sizes. So with these 5, any land can be placed here. Here we start getting into sizes of these species. So we can have small, small or medium, medium or large, and large. And you cannot place a large herbivore until period 2. So then we've got the carnivores. Now, you can't see it, I'm blocking it off, but this here is a small carnivore for period 1, small or large, because there are only 2 sizes of carnivores, small and large. There is no medium. And then in period 3, we have large. This is where we're going to put our extinct cards. And an important thing to keep in mind during this game, you want cards to go extinct because you're still going to get their victory point value. So it's important that you are culling your cards, you're keeping the ecosystem in balance, you're not overgrazing. And I'll talk about that in just a bit. So we have that period deck. So the first thing that we're going to do is during each turn, we're going to draw a new period card. So here it tells us all players draw an herbivore card. So I will do that, add it to my hand. And then we also will have our own secret goal. So we've got that common goal that's on the main board. Well, we each get 2 goal cards to choose one of. And of course, we do this secretly. And I will take this goal card, which gives me 2 victory points per small herbivore at the end of the game. All right, so I'll just keep that off to the side. So let's see what we've got. So I'm not even going to try to pronounce these. So we get the 3 land. There's our 3 land. These are our 2 herbivores. Well, actually, we got 3 herbivores because we drew a card. And then we've got our carnivore, which is large. Well, I know we'll be discarding this card because wouldn't be able to use it until the 3rd period. So, all right. So let's talk a little breakdown of these cards. So with the land, they're the easiest to figure out. That's the number of cards you have to discard to bring this into play. Now, all cards come into play exhausted. So that means you're going to bring them in like that. There's a certain T word that I could use, but I'm not going to because I don't want Wizards of the Coast sicking the Pinkertons onto me and have them banging on my door. So we'll just say exhausted, but you know what I mean. So they come in exhausted, and this doesn't give us any special ability at all. But then again, it only cost us 1 card to bring out onto the table. Now this one has 2, and this actually allows us to exhaust that card to draw a land card. The shrubland, we can exhaust that in order to draw an herbivore card. So this is a tableau building, engine building sort of game. So we are going to be looking to try to put together combinations that work well together. Now, taking a look at all of these herbivores, you may notice that they've all got a little J on them, which that goal card we were looking at earlier, our common goal gives us bonus victory points for each card with a J. So taking a look at what we've got here, I would look to start off and might as well discard the shrubland to bring out the marsh. So you're going to find you're going to have land out before you do anything. Okay, so these would get discarded, and it's important that they get discarded into the correct discard pile because it's not unusual. We had a player the second time we were playing this that just kept taking all their discard cards and just tossing them into the herbivore. And it was like the discard. And it's like, no, some of them are land cards. Some of them are carnivore cards. Stop throwing them all in the same stack. So I can tell you, I'm pretty sure a lot of other people would be doing that as well. Okay, so next I can discard 2 cards to bring the forest out, which is what I will do. I'm going to actually discard both those herbivores, and I will put the forest into play. Now, the reason I did that is because I have this, essentially it's a flying possum, flying squirrel, really. I have this, I can bring them out in my next turn because I have both of these that I need to exhaust Although I got to keep my fingers crossed, we're going to draw another card in that next turn, because I do need to discard a card in order to be able to bring this one out. So we'll see. Now, I will point out, as you move later into these periods, you're going to find that there's quite a bit going on. You're taking this action to draw a card, you're taking this action, exhausting that card to make another card go extinct, and so on and so forth. So there can be a good amount of downtime in a 4-player game. And we did experiment the last game we played, and we basically took one action and then moved to the next player. And they took an action and then the next player. And we went around like that. And the reality is, downtime pretty much disappeared, and there really wasn't any huge change in the way the game played, because essentially it's not like you're doing anything to affect other players anyway. So I do want to mention that, because that would be an option I would look into if you are playing this. If you back this on Kickstarter and you feel that there's too much downtime, try playing it that way. Like I said, saw absolutely no change in how things went. All right, let's see what we got here. All players draw a carnivore. Okay, so there you go. So of course, we would have gone around the table and everything. Everybody took their turn. And then at the beginning of your turn, you take any exhausted cards, and then you are going to put them right. I do have a card that I can discard. I'm going to exhaust both of them, and I am going to bring out my little flying squirrel. I no longer have any cards in hand. You do not draw cards. You have to use actions to get cards. So as an example here, this action here allows me to draw a land card. Of course, I just used it so I could bring them out. Now I'm going to jump ahead. I'm going to throw some species out here. I'm going to throw some more land out here. Go do that. Let's do a river. What the hell? We'll do another forest. Okay. And then let's load up some herbivores here. Let's do it this way. Okay. Now let's say we're into the second period here. Now, what you need to do is you need to keep your ecosystem in balance. Now, something like this is in balance. So you'll have the extinction events, which are going to make land cards go extinct normally. So you're going to find that it's very easy to suddenly have a domino effect where all these cards start going extinct, which once again, as I pointed out earlier, you want cards to go extinct because you want those victory points. So as an example, this is fine. This is not. So you can never have an equal number of herbivores as you do land cards, because it's overgrazing. So what you need to then do is you need to make a card go extinct. Now, it doesn't have to be this one. I could take this one and make this go extinct if I wanted to, because you don't have to have an unbroken line. You just have to make sure you have the correct sizes in here. So something like that would bring things back into balance. Now, that would be considered overgrazing. Now, we also have a situation where we could have too many herbivores to carnivores, because we need carnivores in order to keep the population of the herbivores in check. So in a situation like this, we have too many herbivores for the carnivores that we've got. So once again, to restore the balance, let's throw our forest back out there again. To restore the balance, we would have to have something go extinct. That's kind of the only tricky aspect of Lands of the Mesozoic at all, is to make sure that your ecosystem at the end of your turn is in balance. Because if it's not, then you got trouble. All right, so that is in essence how the main portion of Lands of the Mesozoic plays out. Let's swing back over, take a look at that main board, and I'll talk about your final scoring and your end game. Once you reach the final turn, what you're then going to do is you're going to take all of your cards, your land herbivores, your carnivores, you're going to put them all together and you're going to sort them. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take, as an example here, we've got our carnivores, and you're going to lay them out like this so that you can total up their victory points. You can also see the size as well as any special letter that they carry as well. So remember, here we had the goal where it was 2 extra victory points for every J card that we have in all of our cards. Remember, all of those cards that have gone extinct also count towards your victory points. Also, all of the victory point tokens that you've collected throughout the game, you're going to tally those up. And of course, whatever you had for the common goal, as well as your own personal goal that you selected. You're going to tally all those victory points up, and whoever's got the most is the winner. Now, if there is a tie, then whoever has the most cards left in hand is the winner. Well, if it's still tied, then it's whoever has the most victory point tokens in total is the winner. And then after all of that, if you are still tied, it is a shared victory for all the players, not just the tied players. That is, in essence, how you play Lands of the Mesozoic. So let's swing on over to the other camera. I'm going to share some final thoughts about this game. Now, you may have noticed I opened up the video. It did not have my opening for reviews, right? My new opening that I'm using for my reviews. And that's because I never actually do a review score for Kickstarter projects, because as close as this is to a retail edition of the game, I can't say that this is the final product. But if it is, you're going to be in good shape, because cardstock's really nice. The boards are nice and thick, so they're going to hold up to play. Everything about this is, production-wise, top-notch, and of course, the artwork throughout is fantastic. We enjoyed the gameplay. Everybody who's played this with me has had a good time. I will point out a couple of things that I'm going to kind of rehash once again. One is that we actually all felt that the game moved, I don't want to say faster, even though it felt it moved faster. I'm sure it didn't. But when we just took an action, like made a card go extinct, or buy a land card or herbivore card or what have you, and then we moved to the next person and they got to do that, and we kept going around until finally everyone passes and then start a new turn. Everybody liked that much better than you do everything you need to do. You're done? Okay, now it's my turn. Okay, I do everything that I need to do. Okay, I'm done. On to the next person. There's some downtime, especially as you get into the later turns of each period, because you're building that tableau, you're building that engine. You've got different things you can do. You can exhaust cards to do other things. You've got your special action that you can take. So there's a lot that starts going on as you move into the later parts of each of the periods. Now, of course, we have that extinction event. We do have the overgrazing. So we do have ways that we kind of call out too much going on in your tableau. But still, as far as how we played the game, we did try it where it was just, okay, so I'm going to take an action onto you, onto you, onto you. It just seemed to move a bit quicker that way. Now, one drawback might turn out to be, well, how do you keep track of everything that's been done for the turn to make sure somebody's not cheating? Well, it's pretty easy because you have to exhaust cards to do things normally, and you have to spend cards to do things normally. So it is not difficult to track, okay, well, I've got nothing left to do. All right, I'm done, I pass. So there is that. And then also, I would have liked to have seen this board be a little bit bigger, almost like the size of the player boards. Because the player boards are quite a bit larger than this, more than twice this size. And maybe also have areas where we could put the land cards and the land discard, the herbivore cards and their discards, and so on. Just, it wouldn't make the table feel so cluttered. Strangely enough, you know, we've got the common goal here, but that was something else I would like. I do think it's kind of cool that we do get some artwork on the back. So let's go in a little bit of the extra mile, right? So what do I think of Lands of the Mesozoic? Once again, I'm not going to give it a review score, but I enjoyed it a lot. I got to be honest, I was pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed it. Not that Worthington Publishing doesn't put out good games. It was just at first glance, I thought, oh, well, okay, it's kind of an engine building game. All right, we'll see what's going on. But the artwork, wow, that's really cool artwork. Thankfully, that artwork is also part of a pretty cool game. So I certainly do recommend Lands of the Mesozoic for just about anyone out there, especially if you like tableau building games. And I gotta tell you, it's a no-brainer if you like dinosaurs. So there is that. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell, because it will not only let you know when I upload videos such as this Kickstarter preview, it'll also let you know when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch the video. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. And until I see you next time, here's hoping you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.